Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to connect with Marc van Gils and find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember if you enjoy our content, please take a second, hit that subscribe button, support the channel so we can do more great spotlights like this. All right, enough of me talking here. Let's get this thing going. Marc, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you begin by giving us a little introduction of yourself?
My name is Marc van Gils, 58 years old. I'm married. My wife, Jose. We live in the south of the Netherlands. I have two kids, 24 Vincent and 23 age daughter Nanine. I work as a controller, so I'm in finance. I have been studying economics, and that's what I do for a living. Besides that, I've been running a lot in my life. It started all with my dad. When I grew up, he was ill and he needed to jog on a doctor's advice. And well, I joined him and started all from there.
All right, Marc. Well, great to meet you. You mentioned something about how you got started in athletics. We want to learn a little bit more about that. So tell us a little bit more about that story with your dad, and then kind of what you did with athletics up all the way through until you got onto the masters scene.
Well, it all started when I was a kid. I was always like in the Netherlands. We always play soccer and we do all kind of like children. We played outside and I was very playful. And my dad, at a certain moment, he was yeah, well, from his work, he was a little overworked, so he had to take back. He had to stop smoking. He had to change his lifestyle. So he started jogging, and while I joined him, I was about 10 years old, I guess. And well, we did that once a week, twice a week, and I liked it a lot. And my dad also, he liked it also a lot. And he started also an athletics club after me being a member of a club in my region. And when my father was a school teacher, so he always wanted to be in front of groups and organize things. So he started his own club, and I joined him from there. And I did it until I think I was 12, 13, 14. I was pretty well in running 1,000 meters. We had to run at that age group at the time, and I was rather good at it. But at a certain point in time, I was not so fast growing up as some kids of my age. So there was a physical difference, and then I start losing, and that's not something I like very much. So I quit after a while, and I was about 16. I rode on my, how do you say it, we have this motorcycle thing, and started out going out with my friends and all these kind of things which you do in high school. And well, after a few years, I when not running anymore, I basically restarted with my dad again. He, in the meanwhile, had a group of people running, older people, at least older as me. I was 15 at the time. Yeah, well, they were 30, 35, and they were training for half marathon and these kind of things. So I got involved in that as well. So before I was 20, I ran, I think, about 30 half marathons, something like that. And also I did one marathon at 22. Was rather good at it. I ran just below 120 half a marathon and 303 on the marathon. But when I started studying in college, and the first year they said, well, why didn't you come train with us and do some speed work? And well, I did that for several months, and then I and they saw that I had a lot of speed, so they did an 800 and a 400. And I remember I did a 201, my first 800. And I think it's pretty good, but well, 201, that then you want to go below the two barrier. So I tried that, and well, I tried it twice, and the second time because I was rather poorly trained. I was so sick after it, and then I think I was 21 or something like that. And then I was so sick, I finished in 159, and I felt the headache coming up, and I felt like I had to throw up. So I sat under a tree for the rest of the afternoon, and well, it shocked. How do you say it in English? It shocked me so much to have gone that deep that I didn't dare to run any 800 anymore. And so I didn't, not until I was 30. I said I do not run. Uh, so basically, in that period, I started working also. So I did not do a lot of sports in that period. So when I was 30, I thought, well, the 159 was rather good. And well, I think I should, I think I can do a lot better if I'm well trained. So I met my wife when I was just before 30. And she said, man, maybe you better stop smoking, because I did that also for a few years. So I did that, and I went to a club. Um, it was with it's in our region. Tony Dirks. He used to be a marathon runner, and he's a coach. And I knew him, and I thought, well, if I go train there, he knows all about the running. And so I went there. But yeah, well, in the first year, when I was 30, well, I started to train hard because I wanted to catch up the years I missed. But of course, that's not a wise idea. I did 202. I think, well, I must go faster, but then I got an injury in my hip. So, and that lasted for, I think, 1 year and a half, 2 years, and it didn't go. So I quit with that team as well. And well, then afterwards, I restarted running over and over again. And I'm talking about the years between 30 and 40. I jogged, but it was not really serious. But until I became 40, and I realized that, well, the masters categories are coming up, the age groups. At that time, M35 did not yet exist. So M40 was my first. So I told my friend Peter, if I ran today as a 39 below 210, then I'm going to restart training. And he paced me that day, and he's a long distance runner. So the first lap we did 106. So I thought, well, I have to accelerate. And well, he stepped out, and I was able to accelerate a bit. So I just ended up just below 210. And then I decided, well, I'm going to train again. Basically, from there on, I started really focusing at the 800 meters, and it became more and more professional, I can say. Well, I'm not a professional, of course, but it was much less amateuristic as I did it before. Well, I have been training in Eindhoven, that's the city nearest by, with a great coach named Ton van Hoesel. I've been training with him for 7 years, and there I started really to understand how you should train and what you should not do and what you should do. Uh, well, that I did until when I was just after 50. When I was 50, I broke the national record at the kilometer. Maybe not so familiar in the US with that, but in Europe, a kilometer is still a certain, well, milestone, I would say.
Sure.
And then I ran 2:42, which was a national record. So I was very pleased with that. But let's say at 2018, I went to Aarhus for the European Championship. I just missed out third place because I got pushed in the final meters. I was in a great shape, but I lost control, and I just ended up fourth with 1500ths of a second from the bronze. So that frustrated me a lot. Well, I kept on training, and maybe too fanatic, because I wanted to have this international medal so badly. So in Madrid in 2018, there was indoors, and I had to go there for my work anyway a lot. So I think, well, I can combine that. So I went there, but I had at that time already a rather severe injury on my groin. So I was not able to run really. I was out of shape. I ended up sixth anyway, but after that, for 1 year and a half, I've not been able to run, to train, how do you say it, seriously. I had to take back. And afterwards, and I've sent you some pictures of that. It gave me the time to reinvent things, to do things differently. And after all, that changed for me the whole ball game, and well, made it possible for me to end up second in the European indoors in the M50. And yeah, finally my finest hour in 2022 in Finland, in Tampere. I won the gold medal on the 800 men's 55. Just that was great, but well, it costed me a lot the years before, the 5 years before, to come to the point from being injured, not being able to train, to event the machine which lifted, in which I could run with less body weight, which helped me a lot in training. And I transferred a lot of endurance running into mountain biking. So basically, I did only quality training on the track, and all the rest I did either on the treadmill with the Alto G method, or biking. So and then all of a sudden in Corona period, then we had a lot of time because we had to stay at home, so you were able to train, not race. In that period, I was able to train a lot. I had not travel time for my work, so I was at home. So after work I could train easily and rest properly. And then at 54, I all of a sudden with the new spikes, the Dragonflies, which I also got my hands on. I ran 203 as a 54-year-old, and I looked at the world records and I saw 2029. I think, whoa, this is only 1 year away, and it's only 4/10 of a second. So I started to train real fast. Well, did not break the record as the M55, but I became world champion, as mentioned. And I came close with 204.6, I guess, but well, it was a bit too far. And after the world championship, I had problems with my Achilles tendon, and I could not train. And afterwards, I lost the kind of the motivation. And after winning the title, it did more with me as I expected. I was not always training for the championship, but after I won it, I had the feeling, well, okay, and now what's next? I have what I maximum can achieve in my age group. So it took me a year and a half to get back in mental shape to say, okay, let's train and go for it again. And well, next on the horizon is Madeira. That's in October. That's European Championship. That's my next next goal.
Before we get moving on to kind of like your training and some other things, just sort of give us a quick rundown of your highlights of the championships you've won and so forth. You did talk about your pinnacle there, but what else have you achieved?
Well, basically the World Championship is my absolute highlight. I was euphoric after winning that. I had the best season's time at the time, but you still have to do it at the race itself. So I was so happy and also relieved that I did it at that point. It was after, in that year, that was absolutely my best year. I was also in the M50 category still in February indoors in Braga, Portugal. There I took silver, and that was for me the first medal internationally. And, it was I didn't send you the video, but it was very pushy in the end, and I think the first four all went down to the ground. I can send you after, but yeah, that was a great final, and I just took their silver, so I was really great. That was one of my also major performances. And as I mentioned, the year before, when I was 54 in 2021, I all of a sudden ran 203 at 800, which was my fastest time in 10 years. That was, of course, then also a highlight.
Yeah.
And the national titles, my first title I got when I was in 2011. I was in the M40 category still, and I had already been on the top three a few times before, but the first time I won this gold medal at the 800. Well, that was my it was on Father's Day in 2011, and my kids were still small, and they were there, my wife, and they were cheering me on. So that was a great day too.
Yeah. So how many records and championships do you have? Country records and championships?
Well, for Dutch championship, I have about 24, 25. It's all about 400, 1500, but mostly 800.
Yeah.
I have some silver and bronze, but I think in total maybe I was 40 times, I think 50 times on the podium. But that was all great experience. I had and have some national records. I had my first one, like I mentioned already, was on the 1,000 meters, 242 when I was just turned 50. I broke the indoor record 800 when I was almost 55. In 206 was just 200ths of a second faster than the hand clocked time from 1983 from the guy before me. So I was very close, but also very proud to break it out. That was after a period of a lot of injuries, and then still breaking the record. That gave me the inspiration to move on. I broke it again. I broke also the indoor 400, 800 M55 record, and I have at the moment, I have the outdoor record still 204 for M55 and indoor 209. Well, and well, in the M50, I had the indoor, as I mentioned, record, but I lost it to Andrew Lauras, who's coming up in the M55s very soon, and he's very fast as well. So
Yeah.
for the moment, I have still at least the 800s.
All right. So obviously lots of success.
Yes.
And you're in a good place right now and still driving again.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your training. How do you train? What's your favorite exercises to do? And do you do cross training and so forth? Just give us a little.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of cross training in the meantime because basically I have been injured, like I told, from 2018 after I in Madrid went to the European Championships. I came out completely injured. My groin was hurting a lot, and they made scans and they saw all kind of things, and I had to rest. And so basically, I stopped running. I was not able to run anymore. And before I did a lot of interval, I did a lot of endurance runs, but I had to cut that down. So I started first at only biking, just biking. I was not able to run, so I did mostly endurance runs on the bike. But then I was looking at how can I run, because as a runner you want to run. In the end, I was looking at the internet and I found an Alter G that I saw that existed. I didn't even know of it, but because I was looking for alternatives to run. I also saw these things were quite expensive to buy yourself. So what I did, I went to a physiotherapist not so far away from me. I had Googled him and I found out that he had one, and I tried it, and well, my groin kept great. So I was really how do you say it, very pleased that I found a method to run again. But that machine does only go up to, I think, 18 or 20 kilometers an hour. So it was great for tempo runs. It was great for endurance. But if you want to do some speed sessions, you came short. You fall short. And at the same time, also, if I go to this guy, then I have to buy a ticket, and the trainings cost me a lot. So I think I must have something like that, much cheaper, much faster. So what I invented was I bought an old treadmill, which could go to 25 kilometers an hour, and I took two cycling outfits with these things, and I took two, and I made ropes which I can adjust. Yeah. So I stood on the treadmill. I take a machine to weigh myself. So I weigh myself on the treadmill. I lift myself up by the ropes. So I take 20 kilos off, and well, you have to fit it a bit so that it feels at least a little bit comfortable. And then I did a lot of interval training on that thing. And that was when I was injured. In the beginning, it was just, okay, let's do 1 minute, 20K per hour. Can I do it? Does my groin, does he hold it? Yeah. Well, he does. Okay, try 21. Okay, try 22. Because if you're 20 kilos less weighted, then it's much easier to run that kind of speed. Still hard, but less, but easier. Yeah. So I trained until I was able to do 24 kilometers for 2 minutes. And I think then I thought if I can do it here on this machine, I can restart racing again. So I went to a race here in the 800-meter race in not so far away from my house. I took my mountain bike with me. I did all the warming up on my mountain bike. I did 3 strides. Then I went up to the start line. I ran 800 meters. I go back on the bike for cooling down. So, and then I knew, okay, I can race again as well. Was 2:18, was not so fast, but I was glad I could race again. So basically, in the beginning, after being injured in 2019, I did all my interval on this Alter G, and also and I started to do a lot on the mountain bike here in the woods. But after a while, when I was in Madrid, I met an English guy who won at the 800. He said, I do a lot of sprinting. He told me, and I could not believe it. He said, I only run 1 mile, 1 mile a week, but everything is spot on, and I go all out. So I do only sprint. I thought, well, I couldn't believe it. So I started to, but I thought, well, he's the winner, so he probably knows better than me. So I started to introduce sprinting on a weekly basis in my program by we have a great coach, Arno van Ravenstein in Uden, that's near me, and he knows all about sprinting. So I said, well, I want to do sprinting. I want to have high speed training. I want to hit training. So I became a fan of hit training as well. So that evolved a bit. So I did the LTG. I introduced the LTG. I did less endurance. I did no endurance anymore. I did all the endurance on the bike, 1 hour, 2 hour on the mountain bike. And I did one interval session after a while when the injury did not keep me away from the track anymore. So basically, if you ask me, what are you doing? When I wanted to become real fit in 2022, I did one sprint session a week, one interval session a week. I did one session on the LTG, and then basically it was 2 to 3 minutes in a speed of well, we started that. My friend, he also introduced it in his program. We did 21 and we went up to 23 kilometers an hour on that machine, and then we did it for 2, 3, 4 minutes. Take some rest, these kind of things, and then we were all. Well, you become very tired, but your legs still, you have that not that pain in Achilles or on the groin. It did not hurt that anymore. So that was also a sort of an interval training. So and in between these things, I did a lot of biking just to recover or for the endurance, and then I train about 6 times a week. And when I come near race season, of course, the interval becomes more specific, with more rest and higher speed. And in the winter, when I train a lot, also with the long distance group in my club, with my friend who's a more long distance runner, we have a nice bunch of guys running my speed, more or less my speed, 36 minutes, 10K speed. So we can train together a lot of 1,000 meters or miles or these kind of things, mostly in the winter.
All right, so you'd mentioned something a little bit before about kind of having a letdown after the championships, and I know you've worked on your mental game quite a bit. So, just kind of tell us a little bit about that and where you're at now, and kind of how you overcame that sort of mental lapse after you achieved, what you wanted to achieve, and then kind of how you're motivated now to keep pushing again.
Well, what I noticed is during Corona time and during when I saw in 2021 when I was able to run 2:03, I became afterwards looking from it now. I see now that I became more fanatic, and it always was an important part of my life running, but it became more and more important without me noticing too much. And after winning the championship, it was such a large part of my things what I did all the time, and also my social life. I adjusted it to my training program and things like that, and all of a sudden I didn't need to do that anymore, and that made me confused in a certain way. It was a sort of a black hole. I had now all the time to drink beer and all the thing because there was nothing to achieve anymore for me. At least that was the way I felt it, and it got me a bit confused. But I learned a lot of it as well because I restarted to do things with my family again, and I started to talk with people that I did not feel so good anymore, and that training didn't go so well, and well, my family was very supportive as well, and my wife, she's also very honest all the time. She also was the period before my championship. She's rather direct in her outing, and she says, well, if I train too much, she let me know, so she keeps me balanced in a way because I have the tendency to go on and go on. But well, yeah, afterwards, so she saw maybe coming this moment, that I more or less was stuck in a sort of a situation that I did not know what to do anymore. She saw it coming much earlier than I did. For me, it was a complete surprise. I think, well, I go to the next championship, but I lost my motivation too much. So basically, I reinvented myself a bit with the help of friends, and I started to focus on other things. And I have also talked to a sports psychologist also to help me with this kind of things, and I read a lot about professional sporters, what they experience after stopping a career or after winning a title, and I recognized a lot in that. So to answer your question, how did I overcome it? It's basically, well, open my eyes, talk a lot with people, let it not be the center of my existence anymore, although it's very important. And that was quite hard for me to let it go a bit. Now I can do that all way much more better than I could do that in the beginning. And well, I restarted training not by the idea I have to perform, but just train. I do not follow any program. I go to my group. I have a training group myself, which I do together with my best friend Peter, who's a runner as well. And I let him guide me in the training. I did not make a program for myself. I said, okay, I come. I don't care what I do. I just train. I want to just have fun, and I see what it brings me. And that's what I did to take the pressure off for, let's say, the last 2 years. And now I feel again that, yeah, well, I really want to perform again. And my friends go also to Madeira, Portugal. And I think, well, I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. I have my title, so I can go there and have fun. And I don't have to chase for being the best. Of course, when I'm be there and in my preparation, I will try to do so, but less pressure. I try to have more pleasure in other things as well, and not set everything beside. And which well, it brought me to the title, but I did it a bit too much, I guess.
Well, Marc, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, telling us a little bit about what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to close up here with just giving you the floor to give us some final thoughts.
Well, it was great to have you on the show. Well, and I hope, well, others who see or listen this, go for your goals, but never lose also out of sight the people around you and the things are also important to you. At least that's what I found out. And in the end, I think it will make you a better athlete. And I want to thank you, Larry, for this interview.
Well, there you go, folks. Marc van Gils. He is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.